All right, welcome to Today in News Tech. This article is from the Reuters Institute. I've been reading a lot of this. I think you've been getting a bunch of articles from here too, Tyler. This is a cool resource, and they just did this study. It's from the Reuters Institute. It's an interview that digests the 2021 Digital News Report. And I don't think we've talked about this in any videos yet. It's really interesting. This publisher actually is doing a lot of the things that I really admire. They've got a very active podcast. It's a long form kind of interview based format, but it's not even that long, like 15-minute episodes. They're an institute doing all this research into the industry. And I want to play the last few minutes of this podcast episode because they're interviewing this Dr. Ann Schulz. And she did the study. And basically, I mean, there's all these stats where they kind of looked at where do people go to get information? Okay, local coronavirus information. Where do they go for that in different countries? I think they did like 38 countries in total. But so like these are the types of information that are searched for in these countries. Local weather is the big one for the USA, I guess. And then there's other graphs, proportion that thinks each is the best source of news for different local topics. And this one is, I guess, just across all 38 markets. So this is worldwide, but local announcements, the local newspaper leads. I mean, almost 50% of people think that's the best source. I think that's cool. So that's school things, government announcements, I guess, events, probably business events, crime, economy, sport. It's pretty much the leader. But then, you can look at the breakdown. Local TV was the first competitor that started eating. Well, it was radio, I guess, before that. They started eating into the newspaper market and unbundling that, so the newspaper wasn't the only source of this stuff. Local crime, pretty much the newspaper is doing better than TV and radio, according to this stat. But again, this is worldwide. Let's look at the US. This is another breakdown. Proportion that thinks each is the best source of news, and then they break it down by specific topic. Norway papers got a great reputation and they seem to be doing very well. But the US, this is what they look like. So they're kind of they're not as bad as Chile. But the fact is, in US, where our customers primarily are, this is what they're dealing with. In this case, TV's beating them out in quite a few cases. 21% in the US, 21% of people go to the newspaper for things to do. 19% go to search engines. So they're kind of like evenly matched there. There is one topic, and it's local politics, that is really a unique strength for newspapers. And as we've seen in other stories that we've covered lately, when the newspapers go out of business, it's the politics that get out of control. There's the check and balance that you lose there. You get more corruption from not just politicians, but also local corporations. So let's just listen to this author talk for the last few minutes about what she sees for the future of newspapers.
Lastly, based on the research and your experience of working on this topic for a few years now, this is such a complex, of course, context for local news, also due to the small markets and willingness to pay by audiences where it's very difficult to build sustainable models. Based on your research and experience, what should local news outlet who really want to stand out from these many alternative sources of information should focus on?
Super difficult question. I think what I can say is that what we see in this data is what we also refer to in the report as the unbundling of local news. So while especially the local newspaper traditionally performed many jobs for readers, and they still do, of course, many users in in many countries in our survey now find that other sources are better able to perform these jobs. So against this backdrop, I think it will be very hard for local media to maybe, if not impossible actually, to drive demand for their product via these sort of topics. So what they are left with to monetize their businesses on are only these few topics like local politics, health issues, the local economy, local businesses. So a way forward could be to double down on these rather than trying to provide information on all topics and in this sense try and channel the resources that they have. But of course, none of this will be easy in the current financial environment. But I think it's critically important to avoid a situation where local governments and local politicians are not subject to scrutiny from local media. So while I think this might be less of an issue, that the local paper is no longer considered the best source for the weather, it will be crucial for local journalism and also, of course, local communities around the world not to lose the battle over political information.
Okay, I just thought that was so well put, and it clicked a number of things for me. Like I said earlier, this jives with everything that we've seen elsewhere with the news deserts and constant reports of higher fees from malfeasance and violations after a newspaper closes from, local businesses and industry. They're going to just start to cheat a little bit more. She concludes, these are keeping an eye on local politicians. It's a critical thing that everyone recognizes that we need, but that's really all that we want you for now. We don't really need you for any of this stuff. Although I think these three things, whether I just don't see it, but local politics, local coronavirus, and local health information, definitely. Who better cover that than someone in the community? I guess just comparing to search engines, like I see them as the main competition. I don't really see TV and radio as any more competition than other newspapers. They're kind of all in the same bucket, social media and search engines that we're competing with. And let's let them do what they do well. If you can't beat them, join them. They're not going to be able to cover politics and get the interviews with town board or whoever you need to talk to. I just think newspapers need to recognize what they're best at. Do you guys have any comments on that? Having worked with a lot of mom and pop weeklies?
I think one advantage of the local print is, yes, they're in a position to keep politicians and businesses accountable, but they also have the space if they are online, where news programs, TV, radio, they don't have the space. They're limited by time. Local newspapers, they have an allotment of print room, but if they're online, they can really, really expand their coverage of these topics.
Basically, you're saying there's all this bandwidth that we have to work with,
Right. They're not limited by column width or
time, like between commercial breaks, like on the TV.
And they can also update things daily, where in print, they're limited to once a week, maybe a couple times a week.
Right.
They can update their website daily.
And the search engines are definitely going to reward them for that. So, if you can be the source of local politics and local health information, and let's just say business news, like local business news. If you can be that in the reader's mind, that's what they want to find. They type in your URL. It's a direct link in, that's great. But then over time, if you're smart about your marketing, you can get traffic from the audience that's going to the search engine to find their answer. You can get them to still come to you through the search engine. I
mean, if somebody sees something on TV, they see a 15-second spot on TV, a council meeting or something like that.
Well, right.
Information. It's like, wait a minute, they said this person said that. Where's the follow-up? Let's check out the website.
Oh yeah, there's some
Facebook. Let's check out, Instagram.
Right.
And drive people to your website where you have unlimited room. Really force accountability in your local area.
The reason TV in the US is more popular, 10% more popular for politics and quite a bit more popular for coronavirus weather. It's kind of more passive. It's video. They can just sit there and watch the report and get all four of these things just as they're getting ready for work. The newspaper can do that too, though. They can have the audio playlists. They can get into video, but I understand the barrier to entry to video is high. If you don't know anything about video editing, it can seem overwhelming, but the hands-free, passive experience of getting the news is what makes TV and used to make radio good. Wow, Germany seems to like radio more than anyone. There's an opportunity here. And this type of stuff is like the stuff that Kevin Slimp does on like the local level. He'll have these focus groups and ask them about the paper. What do they like? What kind of coverage? What do they like about the design? But this is like worldwide stats. Pretty interesting. I don't know if we want to look to Europe as the future of the US or if we're not going in that direction. If we're going away from it, I don't know. That was a pretty interesting article. Any other thoughts on that? Sorry.
Yeah, I just think that the portion of the interview where time to double down on these things, and like you said, let the weather apps do the weather. Fine. You know, you have a little 3x3 square on your front page that says this is what we expect this week, but that's about all you need.
Right.
But really, the in-depth stuff that matters to your community is the thing that, like she said, double down on that. You're not going to lose. You're just not going to lose.
Well, in order to double down, the only loss is that you can't do everything that you once did. But this is a guide for what to cut. Cut national news. You want to be covering local politics. It's not just politics. You know, we certainly don't need to be talking about the White House in the local newspaper, and not even republishing AP content. You know, you don't. They'll go to the national news source if that's what they want. You're wasting space.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could be writing more about latest trends in vaccinations or availability, things to do.
That's a good way to put it. Use your space wisely, and I think every publisher is conscious of that. But
well, all we're doing is giving them some stats here that they may not be aware of. They're probably just there's a confirmation bias that you can fall into.
Okay, I'm doing the right thing.
Right.